Almost halfway into 2025, and the South African government, upon the formation of the Government of National Unity, is looking at probably disbanding that same unity that brought us such excellent stock prices and currency exchange rates. Of course, any normal South African is not to be surprised by what's taken place. Endemic corruption has once again been talked about, as we have found ourselves in the midst of a possible VAT increase of 0.5% to 1%, or now it's being challenged. Of course, the DA have gone straight to the courts to challenge this proposed policy by the ANC, their favorite means, of course. And this is the topic I wanted to touch on today, is the courts themselves. A figure like Thembi Simelane, who is now implicated in the VBS Bank scandal, I think with a bank loan tantamount to 500,000 or even expenditure of 800,000 Rand, we see that high-level officials, even those who take up offices that were esteemed and lauded by their predecessors, yes, I am referring to Thuli Madonsela, this is dearly, dearly costly to the confidence that not we as citizens only have, but we are talking about political institutions, corporate institutions, and so many more other big bodies that look at the legal system and the judiciary of South Africa as an indicator of, do I want to invest in this country? Is it safe to run my business in this country? Can this country offer a good experience for tourists? All of these things matter to a developing country like South Africa. But with that said, I'd rather explain how Thembi Simelane has been implicated in this scandal in the first place. Following Simelane's appointment as the Polokwane mayor, it was found that the municipality she was in charge of invested 50 million Rand into VBS. How the money was returned to her was that the bank then made payments to various shell companies that she'd set up, which eventually landed back in her name. Following this, numerous political parties have wanted her investigated, and this has also followed in the wake of various high-profile individuals being implicated. The situation itself is so bad, in fact, that it's the first time the ANC has actually applied pressure to one of its members to take leave following the depth of this scandal in the wake of the Government of National Unity. And it seems as though the case has a pretty watertight investigation, because Simelane herself has refused to be interviewed. Even though the MPA in the past has faltered with its investigations into high-profile individuals, it looks like this time they've got themselves a star witness in the form of Philip Trutter, the disgraced former chief officer who helped facilitate these transactions among many others during his time at VBS.
Defender Democracy will be engaging in a symbolic picket outside the Department of Justice offices in Pretoria, demanding that Thembi Simelane must step down as a minister. Up until last night, when she was reshuffled to Human Settlement, Simelane was serving as Justice Minister. Defender Democracy is also calling for President Cyril Ramaphosa to show leadership and act against the VBS implicated minister. For more on this, we are joined by Calvin Dludla, who is an SABC reporter.
Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Thembi Simelane has a lot of explaining to do over an alleged dodgy loan from dealings around the VBS matter. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says Simelane will appear before the party's Integrity Commission to explain her part. Simelane received a loan exceeding 500,000 Rand from a company involved in illicit transactions with VBS Mutual Bank. On Friday, she'll answer questions about the same matter in Parliament.
Some of these financial details on her spending from the years between 2018 to 2023 tell a coherent story about expenditure that was beyond her means, basically more money than she made in a year from her job. Upon the release of these figures, Simelane has repeatedly tried to distance herself while still claiming innocence as to where this money has come from, citing these large sums as having been received as a loan to start a coffee shop. So even after being moved to a different portfolio by the president, as many presidents have done previously when one of their ministers or other senior officials seems to give them trouble, he has moved her to the Department of Human Settlements, where she now serves as minister. However, as of early this month, it was discovered that she was still grifting, and Eskom is now implicated as having been double billed by Simelane when she was employed by one of the contractors to Eskom. This behavioral issue is more pandemic across our government, as we've been experiencing for years and years and years. But it seems that even if you occupy the office meant to uphold, protect, and administer the law, that corruption and grafting are still part of the routine. And this is why we have to make sure that this GNU, this Government of National Unity, does have these disagreements in it. Like the DA, even though it is a major partner in the GNU, still has a responsibility to fight and go against these things, as do all the other parties. Which is why
we're at Cape Town Central Police Station this morning to lay criminal charges of corruption against Thembi Simelane for her involvement in the Eskom Vitrovian scandal. She's alleged to have received in excess of 700,000 rand for corrupt dealings that Vitrovian had with Eskom, billing them at ridiculously inflated prices, billing them for people who didn't exist. Simelane's signature appears on the first invoice, and therefore she's directly implicated in this debacle. And in the light of her involvement with VBS initially, and now with this Vitrovian scandal, it's really just time for her to go. And we're laying charges in the hopes that it will move the president to do something constructive finally.
And with that fresh bombshell, or shall I say in the South African context, new development shared by Glynis Breitenbach, who's been a rock legally for the DA for the longest time. We can see now that the Government of National Unity is actually what this country needs. And the first few steps will be quite groggy. It is something we'll have to learn to get used to, working with each other across different class and racial groups. But in terms of what the developments are, especially concerning officials like Simelane and others, many others, we need the opposition as part of government to maintain these checks and balances, the most pertinent example of which has been the repeal of the proposed VAT increase for South Africans. That's it for this video, guys. And if you like this content, please click on the subscribe button and engage in the comment section, and I will try and find more stories to upload. And I'll see you in the next one.